Hello, in this video I'm going to share a Buddhist approach to dealing with stress based on this book, How to Solve Our Human Problems, by my spiritual teacher, Venerable Geshe Kelsang Gyatso Rinpoche. Stress is a huge issue in our modern times. We have such busy lives, so many responsibilities, so much pressure going on. So it's really important that we get effective techniques to help us reduce and finally eliminate this stress. So I'd like to share 3 stages to dealing with stress. The first thing that we're going to need is to recapture the space in our mind. If we think of our mind as like a whiteboard and all of the different things we've got going on in our life, especially those that we're not resolving or feeling reconciled with, like scribbling on this whiteboard of our mind. Quite soon there's going to come a time when that whiteboard is full and there's just no room left. And that's when we have those gridlock moments, those key indicators of stress where we find even small things overwhelming because there's just no room left in our mind. You know, we might find ourselves in a situation where all around us people are giving us that look that says, this isn't that big a deal, why are you being like this? Which may very well be how we're feeling. This isn't that big a deal, why am I being like this? And the reason is we've just run out of room. There's no space left in our mind. We can resolve that with a simple technique of the meditation on the breath, which is explained in the chapter, What is Meditation? In the book, How to Solve Our Human Problems. Venerable Geshe gives very clear step-by-step instructions, very easy to follow. And at the end of this video, there'll be a link to a guided meditation that you can practice. Basically, we find a quiet place, we settle ourselves into a comfortable posture, we gather our awareness onto the sensations of the natural rhythm of the breath at the point where it enters and leaves the nostrils. And we just gently relax into that sensation, anchor our attention in each passing moment. At the beginning, there will be lots of thoughts arising and a strong temptation to follow those thoughts. But we resist that temptation. We just let go, gently disentangle ourselves from the busyness, the noise, the thoughts, the pressure. This is like wiping that whiteboard of our mind clean. After a while, something very beautiful happens. Our mind settles and it reveals its crystal clear nature. Sometimes when we're stressed, we tell ourselves this story that to resolve that stress, we would have to go a long, long way away from all of these people for a long, long time. And then maybe after a long time away from a lot of these people, we might feel human again. But the truth is, inside all of us, there is an inner reservoir of stillness that we can tune into and connect with and nourish ourselves with. And so if we put aside the time, and it doesn't take long. You know, Venerable Geshe recommends 5-10 minutes a day, sitting, breathing. We don't expect immediate good results. It takes a little while, but not that long. You know, within a few weeks of practicing, definitely, we will start to have this experience in the meditation where the clouds of our busy thoughts part. You know, Venerable Geshe describes this as when the turbulence of distracting thoughts subsides and our mind becomes still, a deep happiness and contentment naturally arises from within. This experience of contentment helps us to deal with the busyness of daily life. So if we put aside time regularly to do this practice, we'll find that stillness within. It will be within reach when we need it. In our daily life, even as things are challenging and difficult, they won't feel so overwhelming because we'll know, I just need to find a quiet space, sit for a few minutes, and I'll be able to let go of this tension, connect with my peace. Now, it's very beautiful because it helps us change our relationship with ourselves. Now, we might have this narrative thinking of ourselves as a stressed, worried, anxious person. The more we do this meditation, the more time we spend with our stillness, the more we realize actually our truth is that we are a calm person, a quietly confident, peaceful person. The surface might be turbulent, but if we spend more time deeper inside of ourselves, we find that truth, that stillness within. So that's the starting point. Very, very important. Of course, it will take us a while before we change the habit of mind where we worry and are anxious and get stressed by things. And so the next step that I want to talk about is how we can become more comfortable with uncomfortable thoughts and feelings, more comfortable in uncomfortable situations. There is a slight change in the way we frame these experiences, in the way we describe them to ourselves, that Geshe-la encourages us to adopt, that makes the most enormous difference. Now, Venerable Geshe says there is an enormous difference between the thought, I am feeling bad, and the thought, unpleasant thoughts and feelings are arising in my mind. It might not seem like much, but that slight shift in how we're describing the situation to ourselves really does dramatically change our experience. When we're telling ourselves, I am stressed, we are putting ourselves inside the stress. We're basically saying, I am stress. And so everything is stress. We're immersed in stress. We're surrounded by stress. In every direction that we look, there is only stress. There is just stress. But if we think to ourselves, describing the very same experience, stressful thoughts and feelings are arising in my mind, we've been able to maintain a perspective. Yes, there is stress. Yes, I'm observing it, I'm acknowledging it, I'm not pretending that it's not there, I'm not repressing it, I'm observing, I'm aware of the stress that is arising in my mind. But that stress is inside, and I am vaster than that stress. Venerable Geshe gives this analogy of considering our mind like the sky, the vast expanse of the sky, and the stressful thoughts and feelings like a thundercloud, like a storm inside that vast expanse of the sky. It's there, perhaps we wish it wasn't, but because of maintaining that perspective, it doesn't have the power over us that it usually does. So this is an exercise we can start to practice just in general daily life by just being an observer of our own thoughts and feelings. Now, we don't wait till we're in a stressful situation to try to start the practice, but right now, when there's a relatively calm time, we just try to observe what are the thoughts and feelings that are arising. The more we practice that, the more we will be able to, in stressful moments, just shift into this slightly more detached perspective of being an observer of what thoughts and feelings are arising in our mind. And Venerable Geshe says that the more we're able to do that, the more in a position we'll be to react and to use those experiences in a constructive way, which is the third point that I'm trying to get to. So, at the moment, when we're in a challenging situation, the kinds of situations where we get stressed, we very commonly enter into this friction, this battle. We're in conflict with life. And so the third and deeper practice of dealing with stress is to completely reframe our relationship with those situations so that we're not in conflict with them, we're not fighting with them, we're not afraid of them, but we find a way to welcome them and embrace them. And of course, this takes a flexibility of mind, but if we start to consider, how can I use these experiences positively? We become like a farmer of our experiences. You know, in farming, people use manure, something which in and of itself is perhaps quite an unpleasant thing, to grow beautiful flowers, delicious vegetables. And so for the keen farmer or the gardener, then we find value in what other people might think of as something just disgusting. So if we can take our uncomfortable experiences, our stressful experiences, and use them to grow the qualities that we aspire to in our life. And there are many. For example, we could use the stressful situations to cultivate a mind of compassion, a connected heart, rather than our stress being something where we feel more and more isolated, like a pit which we fall into, ever more separated from others, ever more alone, we can turn our stress into a bridge that connects us with others. Am I alone in experiencing this? Who else is going through something like this? And with our empathy and our insight into the human condition, we will know there are many others going through similar stressful experiences, even far worse than what we're going through. And by making that connection, our heart fills with compassion, which is amongst the most beautiful human qualities we can have. Now, if we're regarding our life as a spiritual journey, then what matters most are the qualities that we are developing, the kind of person that we are becoming, how we're growing spiritually. And so compassion is immensely valuable. Compassion is the highest human quality. And so if we can learn to translate these stressful experiences into a heart that is more connected and more compassionate towards others, we stop being afraid. We think, I need this. This is helpful. Of course, if there are simple practical steps that we can take to just change the situation and resolve it, then of course we do that. But very often there won't be. Very often we are simply stuck with the way things are. Or indeed, even as we are implementing a remedy to those situations, it can't happen immediately. So in the time it takes, there'll still be stressful feelings. How can I use these constructively? The more confident we become in turning our stressful feelings into compassion, the less afraid of them we are, until finally we're not afraid of anything. So we start with breathing, finding that space in the mind. We then move on to getting more comfortable with uncomfortable feelings. And finally we try to learn how to constructively respond. We're not trying to hide or even change. We're trying to turn these things to our advantage, to our spiritual advantage, become a better, more centered, kinder person in response to feelings that previously we found difficult or even unbearable. So this is a Buddhist approach to dealing with stress, and I hope you find great success in it. Please follow one of these links for guided meditations. Thank you.